Federick.
In 1818, slavery was common around the world. That meant many men and women were not free to live as they wished. They did not have the right to vote. In many parts of the country, only white men who owned land were allowed to vote. Black men in the United States were rarely free to own anything. Most blacks were born into slavery. They worked their entire lives for no pay. Frederick was born into slavery. His mother died when he was 10 years old. He was sent away from his home. Frederick went to work in a new house. The woman of the house had a kind heart. She knew that slaves couldn't go to school. She taught Frederick how to read. When her husband found out, he was very angry. But Frederick had already learned a lot. Frederick's love of learning grew. He would read anything that he could find. He liked reading the newspaper. He would share what he learned with the other slaves. Frederick knew he could not live his life in enslavement. When he was 20, he was finally able to escape. He fell in love with a free black woman. Her name was Anna. She helped him run away. He changed his name to Frederick Douglass. He knew he had to be careful. If he was caught, he would be sent back into slavery. Frederick and Anna got married. They attended anti-slavery meetings. At many of these meetings, Frederick would tell the story of his childhood. He would tell how he had escaped. He kept speaking out against slavery. One day, a man wrote an article about him in the local newspaper. The man was surprised that Frederick gave such well-written speeches. Frederick was asked to speak to a large crowd in public. Everyone in the crowd hated slavery. Frederick thought they would listen to him. Some people were angry that a black man was speaking to them. They didn't want to listen to a black man. Frederick was chased away from the stage. When he was 27, Frederick wrote his first book. It was about himself. He wrote down the whole story of his life. That was dangerous for him to do. By writing his story, he risked being caught. He risked being sent back into slavery. As soon as his book was printed, Frederick left the United States. He went to England and Ireland. As he traveled, he kept giving speeches. His books were written in different languages. People all around the world read about his life. A group of people in England wanted to help Frederick. They knew it was dangerous for him to go back to the United States. To help him, they started collecting money. Soon they were able to buy Frederick's freedom. Frederick Douglass returned home as a free man. Once home, he started printing his own newspapers. He remembered how helpful newspapers had been to him when he was young. One of his newspapers, the North Star, stated what Frederick believed. It didn't matter if someone was male or female. It didn't matter if someone was black, white, or brown. Everyone was equal. In 1861, the fight over slavery grew. Some states wanted slavery to end forever. Other states wanted to keep their slaves. the people of the United States went to war. Frederick had been working with the President Abraham Lincoln to make slavery against the law. In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln decided to free all of the slaves. Even though the war had ended, the fight for equal rights was not over. Frederick spent the rest of his life fighting for the rights of Black people. By the end of his life, Black men and white men were still not treated equally under the law. But Frederick's speeches, bravery, and hard work had made huge steps. With his help, no one would be born into slavery ever again in the United States.
Discuss. Why was it important for people like Frederick to fight for equality?